May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer. And it's in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. I'm out. All right. Welcome, everybody. Come on in. Excited to have you on with us. Thanks for being here with us today. Shabbat shalom to everybody. We'll have prayerfully some peaceful dialogue and be able to speak on some things, some righteousness, some right and lawful standing, legal standing. Hello to everybody. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And we're at least able to go live today. That's been a struggle. Even when I haven't been struggling as much as far as health has been a struggle. We tried to come on live late last night and weren't able to do that. Praise God, we were able to at least have class and everything, but we're grateful to be in front of you again. We give all praise and honor once again to Yahweh Elohim. We give all praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. After we finish that, those who are interested, come on over to the podcast, and we'll continue to listen to these great messages that have been put forth by the ministerial staff who's been stepping up and doing great things. But we're thankful to have you on today. And we're going to kind of jump right into things. We kind of have a little series that came out of nowhere talking about, being honest about certain things. And so we're going to talk about the truth is, and this is kind of becoming part 3 of the series. And since we have a shorter time today, I want to talk about the truth about value. And to everybody who's on, thanks for being on. If you're part of SOC, moderator, ministerial staff, whoever you might be, wherever you might be watching from, we're appreciative of you being on with us today. And looking beyond what you see and pressing and straining, because ever since we made that declaration, I can tell you in my personal life, I've been pressing and I've been straining and I've been looking beyond what I see so I can #finish strong this year and living inside of that which we have pursued. And so we're thankful and grateful to do that again and come in front of you all again. Shalom to everybody, whether you're on YouTube or watching this later on. If you're watching this on TikTok, if you're watching this live, we appreciate your presence. How you doing, Big Brother Thomas, Sister Deborah, or Ms. Mac, if you will, Bounty, Just Banks, Minister Shantae, how's everybody doing? Minister Sharon, who we're excited about. Her and her husband will continue to give us our Shabbat Shalom series for this month on this for our service that we do every Saturday. For those who want to come on, how you doing, Big Brother Naya? To everybody, Lottie Di, and everybody, how you doing? So we want to talk about again today. We're going to talk about the truth, this truth series, this honesty series, and we want to talk about the truth about today, the truth about value. Right? We were talking about the truth about America yesterday. And one of the things that happens in America is, once again, we live outside of our culture, outside of who we're called to be and what we should be. How you doing, Dripek? Brother Alex, hey, how you doing? My wife is on once again. Thank you for being on, babe. You can check out my wife on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree, and she has many different tinctures or things for natural healing to help you out. And the tincture this month is I Feel Loved. And so we're excited what she's doing, also coat drive and everything like that. So we're excited and grateful and thankful for everything that's coming up. So we thank you for all those things and you being a part of today's conversation. How you doing, Sister Dawn? And let's go ahead and get right into it. And thank you for sharing the lives. Thank you for your likes, your shares, gifts, any of those things. Thanks for spending time today. And so we want to talk about specifically today the truth about value. Once again, the truth about value. Thanks for being part of the community. Was that Live Life Fun, I believe. The truth about value. The truth about value. And so this came to me really this rising. My wife was listening to an interesting conversation on TikTok where there were some people doing a TikTok live, going back and forth between the value of a husband, the value of a wife. No, I don't. I need to be myself. But thank you for being on. If that's your way of saying hello to you. How you doing, Cookie? Hello, Sister Barbara. And whoever that was that made the comment, looks like somebody got here already. Thanks for being part of the community. Live Life Fun. And and Genius 168, thank you so much for your Awesome words of wisdom, I guess. If that's where you are, we hope that you obtain more and continue to obtain more in your journey. How you doing, Jersey? So, the truth about value, right? The truth about value. When we talk about value, what is the truth about value? Where do you get your value system from? Right? If we can just start there. A lot of us are talking about value. We want to be valued. Value me as a man, as a woman, as a human, uh, as value my sexuality, value my goals, value my dreams, value my children, value me, mom and dad, whatever the case might be. Where does that value come from? Right? As I was saying earlier, we were talking about the truth about America yesterday, and we're going to get back into that. But today, since it's a short version of the live, I'd like to be able to kind of get back to the truth about value, right? And then we'll get back to the truth about America some more tomorrow. But really, even in our American system that a lot of people have decided to stay in, you have to recognize that your truth about value is coming from the system that you partake in, right? The truth about your value is really coming from the system that you've chosen to partake in. And so for a lot of people, you have to recognize that your value system is based off of a system that doesn't really value people, right? Did you catch that? Hopefully you caught that. That a lot of your truth about value is really not as much truth as it is about the system that you partake in. So if you partake in a system that says that people are property, then you will begin to value yourself as property and you will begin to value people as property. If you're in a system that says you're only as valuable as how much capital you have, then it means that you will only value a male or a female based off of the value that they bring, or even your child. Or you'll say, I'll listen to Bill Gates. Why? Because he has more capital. I'll listen to Oprah Winfrey. Why? Because she has more capital. I will listen to the president of the United States because the assumption is that they have more value, right? I'll listen to somebody who raps and because they have more chains, right? They have gold, they got platinum, they got jewelry in their teeth, all these different things. Therefore, that's what the value has been, right? Right. So if we're going to look at these things, we have to start to look at the value. You said you listen to Kanye West and Candace Owens. Okay, that's fine because you value what they value, right? You value people that literally do stuff to make money off you, right? Like if we're going to be honest about that statement, Kanye West is somebody who, whenever it's time for him to make more money off you, he comes out with a very um, controversial statement, and then he backtracks on it so that he gains everybody back in, and then keeps doing the same thing. If you're into Candace Owens is somebody who believed in everything that she says she doesn't believe in, right? And then all of a sudden she started getting paid, and now she doesn't believe it. Yeah, a lot of people believe in shock value, right? Like Candace Owens was somebody who used the NAACP to go against the schools that she was having problems with, sued, got money off of it. She's somebody who was literally putting out product after product, magazine after magazine, etc., literally saying that Donald Trump was nothing and telling y'all that Donald Trump had a small phallus, right? Then all of a sudden she got paid, and now all of a sudden she's made sure that she's caped up for that. She's married into that system now, and now she capes up for the system she's part of. How you doing, Sister Helen? Right. So, and Shabbat Shalom to everybody. So you got to realize like your value system is coming from the system. Yeah, as my wife just said, Candace Owens is an opportunist. Just like Kanye West is an opportunist. Just like many people are out here being opportunists. But you have to think about the system. Does the system make sense? Right? How Candace Owens lives, right? Like this is something that rap artists do too. Like let's be honest about it, because they're part of a culture that they want to tell you is your culture, and it's really not. They're controlled by the elite just as much as you and I are, right? They just get more money to be controlled, right? But the reality is, if you look at Candace Owens, can you live Candace Owens' life? Are you married to, I believe, if not a multimillionaire, at least a multimillionaire, probably a billionaire, right? Are you going to make sure that you have children for that person? Are you going to make sure that even if that person mistreats you, you're going to stay in line, right? See, you're part of a system. You're supporting those who would support Candace Owens. You're supporting the system, and you don't even recognize it, And I'm blessed to have some travel under my belt and to have been around some really high rollers and to be with some people that have done a lot in investing and some people who have some really great connections that are even part of our organization. And I'll tell you what, like just because somebody got a lot of money, it doesn't mean that they're valued and it doesn't mean they feel valued. Just because they dress better than you doesn't mean that they do. And just because they tell you to get off your behind and stop being lazy doesn't mean that they're getting off their behind and stop being lazy as far as what they're telling you means it's working for them. I'm just here to tell you, if that's your reality, then you're part of a corrupted system. It is what it is, right? Like, but we're lifting these people up. And how you doing? Is it Reby 1027? I'm not sure if I said that correctly. Thanks for being part of the community. So we're having wild conversation that's not even reality. It's not even based in reality, and we're trying to ask people to lift that up, right? We're trying to ask people, we're telling people, be better, be like this person, be like that person. Like, for example, somebody says, be like Bill Gates, see where he came from. I mean, Bill Gates didn't, Bill Gates didn't do college. Bill Gates is somebody who came from a little bit of money, right? Bill Gates is somebody that owns thousands upon thousands of acres of land and is telling you that there's no food and that we need to make sure that we stop having babies because there's no food, but he won't grow food and give it to you. These are things that we're dealing with, right? We have to be careful. The system we're in, the value, right? My wife said, oh, thanks, babe. I'm happy to have you. I love you very much. And that's value. See that right there? That's value to me. The truth about value. My wife is down. That's value. you know. Yeah, so we were watching somebody on the live prior to this, and I really didn't watch as much as she did. So she feels free. Heck, if you even want to try and call in, if you want, babe, and I don't know what your schedule's like. You might be able to explain more of what got me in this mentality to talk about this today. But we have this value system based upon some wild, wicked, and weird stuff. That doesn't mean anything. Once again, you're in a system that says that they will send your child to school from age 2, preschool, and now trying to add on 2 more years and then say, now we'll get you a bachelor's degree and do all these things. And the reality is people with bachelor's degrees aren't necessarily making any more money than somebody else. You said, do I believe in legal marriage? I believe in marriage and lawful marriage, but even our value system on marriage, as far as my personal cultural belief system, et cetera, is different than that of an American or Western Eurocentric viewpoint. Because even the West, even law determines that if you get married to somebody, you have to have sex. Your marriage is no more legal. Your marriage is only legalized by the sex that you have with one person becoming one. So I agree with the becoming one. Do I agree that you have to go to the state in order to say that they can give you permission to become husband and wife? No, I don't. Right. But that's once again, who is your standard? Where is your value system? Where does that lie? And a lot of people are looking to people who don't even live by their standards. They're what you would call a hypocrite, or what we would actually pronounce correctly as a hypocrite. Right? What is a hypocrite? A hypocrite, crite is talking about the criteria. Hypo means beneath, right? Hyper, if they were a hypercrites, they would be above the criteria. If they were live by the criteria, okay, at least they do that. But a lot of them that we're looking to for advice, including the person that my wife and I were listening to today, he's a hypocrite. He lives underneath his criteria. Here was a man, and all this panel were all unmarried and everything, but here was this one particular man who's 48 years old, no wife, no children, telling everybody how a wife should be in submission to a husband, but you ain't never been a husband. You're not qualified to be a husband, and you don't care about serving somebody. He kept talking about controlling somebody. How you doing, Brother Alton? He kept talking about control. I need to 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 control. Why is it that you won't let go of control? You keep saying I, this, that. He never once submitted a mission. He never once said, see, if a wife is supposed to be in submission, it is not submansion. It is not, hey, get under a man and be controlled by that man. It is to be in submission. If the man is hypercrite in his mission, he is above the criteria concerning his mission, then you should look, then a wife, right, who should already be pre-qualified before she lays down and be married. Oh, you requested? Okay, I'm sorry. I see you, babe. Sorry about that. So you should be connecting you, I think. Sorry about that. I missed it. You know, So my wife is probably going to be joining us soon. Prayerfully, the signal and everything holds up. I've been having signal issues. Okay, there she goes. I have my wife on once again. Please check out my wife on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Feel free to show your love for her as well. Give her some gifts and different things like that. However, babe, did you want to discuss some of the stuff that you were listening to earlier in the rise?
Yes, thank you, King, for letting me on. I appreciate it. And Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Um, oh my goodness. Like, I got way too invested in a live this morning. And the reason why I got so invested was because there was a 52-year-old woman on there that everyone was bashing for her wanting a relationship that consisted more than just a McDonald's ice cream cone and and quick sex. A man offered her to go out, and she said she was fine with just going to McDonald's. He got her an ice cream cone and then asked her for sex. Um, and everybody in the chat and many people, especially a man on there, was telling her that she's delusional for wanting more than that, for wanting more than um, just that she should realize her value has declined, and that she should know it is what it is, and that you're not going to get what you're looking for. And so I got really like maybe overly emotionally involved in it because I don't see it that way at all. I see what he's saying in terms of um, what a man her age may be looking for is maybe different from what she's looking for, what she has to offer. But it's delusional because he kept saying that a man 40, 50, 60 can get with a woman who's in her 20s. And sure, the likely, like, anything is possible, but how probable is that? Like, I love it the way they throw out these stats. Like, there's 40, 50, 60-year-old men just out there pulling 20, 25-year-olds. Come on. And then he mentioned, which really blew my mind, that there's 14-year-olds marrying 40-year-olds in Israel. Okay, but what does that have to do with him? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't mean to, like, go rambling, but I was, like, really in it. And I couldn't turn it off because I was like, this is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't understand why people place all this value on just a woman's age all the time and don't take into consideration that with that age comes a different type of skill. Like, yeah, maybe she doesn't look like a 20 or 25-year-old, but she definitely doesn't act like one, which is a plus. In my view, like, she doesn't have the same mentality, and she has something different to offer. Just like a man, he may not look like a 20, 30, 40-year-old, but he has something different to offer, which makes him more valuable. But, I think they meet in the middle because the likelihood of someone in their 30s or in their 40s, 50s, 60s pulling or attracting a girl who's in her, teens and 20s is very low. Just like a woman who's in her 50s, attracting every 50-year-old man is, maybe low, but there's still like the option that she wants will be there, and for men, the options they want will be there, to some extent. So that's what I'm gonna say.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And thanks, babe, for being on, and thank you for sharing. And Cowboy IC40, if go somewhere else then where you choose to listen. But I don't comprehend that. My wife's going to be able to say what she wants, and right, and that's part of being in a relationship too. Is like people come on saying craziness and stuff like that. But the reality is that what my wife is saying is correct. And I don't know if you had anything else to say, but well, if you want to stay on, you can stay on. If you feel led to say something else, of course, But once again, even in that, what is the standard? What is the value system coming from? Right? You said she's out of touch with the current dynamics and continuing of the times. Female 20 to 30-year-old, easy. Well, let me say this: if you're a 50-year-old man and all you're trying to pull is 20 and 30-year-olds, then I mean that shows that you're immature. I mean, if you happen to fall in love, and that term is a loose term because we use it as a catch-all, right? Fall in love, a lot of people use for whatever they want. But the reality is that if you can't If you can't do anything more, right, than that, then, and by the way, this comes from a place of maturity. Once again, comes back to the whole thing of a mission, right? A lot of men don't have a mission, but they want a woman to be in submission. Well, how does she submit to something that's non-existent? How does she submit to something that's non-existent? If you don't have a mission, watch this. If you're 50 and you don't have a mission that is inclusive of a wife, then we might need to look at your life and say, what's going on? You said, who listened to look at you? I don't know what you mean by that. Right? If it was a dig or ad hominem or whatever, if it was just a valid point, I have no clue. If you could maybe next time you come on, right? But I'm just saying, I'm sorry, you said, how do you know you found the one compatible life partner? Well, first of all, once again, it comes to yourself. So once again, and this is cultural. See, if you're in an American society, we're going to talk about the truth about American society. Let's be honest about this. Most people in American society, they're looking for a woman who's 20-something years old, or maybe even now, of course, looking for men. Look at Cher and other examples, Madonna, et cetera, people who are looking for young people, Jennifer Lopez, et cetera. You're looking for people that are younger because a lot of people want control. But see, if you want control over something, you have to serve what if you once again, you can't control what you serve. You can't serve what you control. Truth is free. If you'd like to chime in, as long as it's respectful, and I'm gonna have to ask it to be short. I give my wife certain opportunities, of course, but if you'd like to say something real quick, you can feel free, and then we can go ahead and talk about it a little bit more. But yeah, if we're going to talk about those things, we have to be in line with reality. So we have to look at certain things that are there. But once again, that value system, that, in all honesty, whose value system? If you're part of a value system that says trophy wife, if you're part of a value system that says you have to do this, that, or whatever, then of course that's your value. But I'm sorry, you're on now. I guess truth is free official, I believe.
Yes, sir. How
Okay.
are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm blessed.
Okay.
I just wanted to say real quick, there's a lot of things going on in the world. Things are gonna get very, very crazy soon.
Mm-hmm.
The Father and the Son. The Father is Yahuwah. The Son is Yeshua.
Uh-huh.
And that's gonna be the only way out of all of this absolutely outrageous stuff that's about to happen soon. I mean, crazy. I mean, like, if you ever seen like a good movie, like, imagine that, but like happening in real life. No CGI. Yeah. So just wanted to say, be encouraged. Don't be afraid. Because there's peace in the Lord. Yeah, pretty much.
All right. And thank you for that. Appreciate it. And I agree. I agree with you.
Thank you. Take care.
Same to you. I agree with you 100%. That's there's truth in that. And so in all these wild things, one of the things you're going to have to make sure that you're aware of is relationship. Right? Thank you, Rebe. Appreciate that. So one thing we're going to have to be aware of, is relationship. And I'm sorry, Truth, if you're still there, my wife was saying, are you one of the people that were on the round earth or the flat earth or round earth discussion? But yeah, these are things that we have to realize and recognize, that in American culture, it's not there to give you something that's going to last forever. Right? It's not going to give you stuff that's going to last forever. Everybody's on the very temporary. This is why in the Black community, number one reason for divorce is usually going to be finances, a temporary situation. And people can't look beyond what they see to press and strain through financial difficulty. Um, I can tell you this, when everybody else was having issues with financial difficulty and recessions and then 2020 and all this other stuff, that's when my wife and I actually became the strongest that we ever had become up to that point. We're better now than what we were. But it was our relationship that helped us through the toughest of times. It was our relationship that said, let's get this land. It was our relationship that said, let's make sure that we value each other. It was our relationship that said, for better or worse. See, a lot of people only bring up the vow at the altar when they go through the Eurocentric version of a wedding. So a lot of people's value system is, oh yeah, when I stand in front of everybody, I say, for better or worse, I say sickness and health. I say death do us part. I say richer for poor. But what happens when that's coming to be? Right? Well, divorce rates are actually no, divorce rates aren't necessarily always the same, but in America, you could say they're very similar because people are giving up their culture a lot of times to be able to have an American value, right? But you've got to realize that for better or for worse literally means for better or for worse. Like, well, what are you in this for? And that's why now it goes back to that whole thing when somebody's talking about that woman doesn't understand the value. Girls are just, we need to go out for 20, 30-year-old girls. You better recognize that you're going for a 22-year-old woman. When stuff hits the fan, she is not prepared to help you. If you're a 50-year-old brother, you better have a 50-year-old woman. Like if you have some difficulties, there's a 50-year-old mentality that a sister has that a 20-year-old sister doesn't have. She might have some of it. She might have heard about it. But see, but once again, now we get into culture. Are we talking about a woman or are we talking about a wife? He who finds a wife, not he who finds a girl, not he who finds a woman, not he who finds somebody who got hips. She can have hips and still not be a wife. She can have 0 hips and not be a wife. She can, whatever, right? It doesn't say he who finds a woman or a girl, he who finds a wife. Right? A wife is already qualified before you meet her. And a lot of times what happens is we're talking to the unqualified and telling them to start acting qualified. That's not how this works. You hear what I'm saying? That's not how this works. You looking for unqualified people to then meet the qualifications. And that's not how marriage works. Right. And even in our culture, see, we've gone to other people's culture. You know more about breeding than you know about marriage. We know more about jumping over a broom than we know about marriage. What's the difference? Breeding is just opening your legs up. Well, I'm not breeding because I'm not having babies. You're going through the act of breeding. A lot of you have been taught to breed and not taught to have sex. Sex is marriage. Marriage is sex. If you don't believe me, even after you finish walking down the aisle or everything, you got to turn your marriage certificate back or, your license or whatever back in. Right. And be certified and all that stuff. And what does it say on there? It basically says, like, part of it's going to tell you if you don't consummate this thing, that we're not, see, you just look at the nice presentation, but read the fine print, if you will. If you don't consummate that thing, that will say your marriage never counted. So you know more about breeding. Breeding is just the act. You know more about jumping over a broom. Jumping over a broom is when you do the act and say in front of everybody, yay, cool, but let's keep it a secret. A lot of people are still using that same thing that has come down through generations. You said you really find out a person in tough times in which you should already know. Yeah. You said, how do you determine if one's qualified nowadays? Once again, I would say come out of the system if you want to have somebody that's qualified past the system. See, I live by something that's greater than America. No president can determine to me what a marriage is. No license can tell me what a marriage is. So in my culture, it's different. In my culture, first 3 years of somebody being born, you teach them that they're a male or a female. In this culture, you tell them they're not supposed to know that they're a male or a female. So we already got a problem. You see that? Like if I can direct you, in our culture, you would breastfeed somebody and have them have oxytocin levels and stuff that stimulate the hypothalamus. I'm not saying this right. The hypothalamus. I'm not saying that correctly, but the hypothalamus would dictate to the pituitary gland things that have to do with your melanin and be able to direct your body to have oxytocin, that you would now have this great conversation with your mother. But people don't even get breastfed anymore. I said it correctly? Okay. Right. I know what it is. I'll be messing the word up. But y'all get what I'm saying, right? So now I got the hypothalamus that's messed up because it's not even getting oxytocin levels. And on top of that, I'm also telling the person not only not have oxytocin that's going back and forth to where you're having conversation with your parents, even the unsaid conversation, but now I'm also making sure that I tell you don't be a male or a female. In our culture, that'd be the first thing you tell somebody. You teach them. You remember, some of y'all are old enough to remember that, yeah, there were gender specific, even with this gender reveal stuff that they do now, right? You see blue for a boy, pink for a girl, right? Like it used to be proper etiquette. You taught your child etiquette from the jump. Sure, they're a toddler. Sure, they're not going to be able to quote scripture like that. Sure, they're not going to be able to do a scientific research and all those things. But they still what? You're still looking for somebody who at least is confident and competent concerning who they are. But nowadays, we tell you first things first, don't know who you are. I'm sorry, Alyssa, you said you're 53 and your soulmate, you met your soulmate and you found your soulmate at 47. Now you're 60. Okay, cool, right? That's great. So these are the things that, and once again, I'm not saying, that's world why nonsense, but I'm just saying we have a lot of stuff that we need to catch up on and make sure other generations don't fall in line with or fall victim to. For those who don't like victim mentality, where there's victors out there giving you a victim mentality that says that you got to be married through their system. Problem is, their system is causing you to have a divorce rate. Before COVID, what was it, 51% or so? After COVID, some of y'all had divorce rates, depending where you are in the country. I think they went up to 75+%. So you're in a culture. And by the way, 51% was already too high. And all it took was COVID, where y'all had to be in the same presence with each other for people to say, oh, I don't want this anymore, because you were never married in the first place. You were great at breeding, but you weren't really married. You said, do you believe some of you are meant to be alone? Sure. I would say make sure that you're led properly and just don't be like, I'm just going to be alone because of what da does. Do things properly according to what it is. But yeah, if you're, I'm not saying focus on getting married, but I'm just saying on value. We get our value system from the wrong thing. Yeah, the system has people having the wrong mindset. Our mindset is on things that really, at the end of the day, when the rubber let me tell you this: when the rubber meets the road, I've never once thought to myself, when times have got real difficult, even though it helped and stuff, I've never once thought to myself, man, you know what, my wife's body is what's keeping this relationship together. Because she's so divine, because she has so much wisdom, because she's so feminine, because her hips and everything, because of her curves and all that. I like, those are things that are definitely things I love and appreciate, but I never really, I never really looked at that, right? Like, that's not like, when times get tough, I'm like, oh, my wife is there. Like, for me, it's like, oh, okay. Like, if nobody else is going to say hello to me or whatever, make me feel respect, my wife will make me feel respected. Like, those are the things that were there. I got you, man. I got you, right? But I'm just saying, like, those are the things that were there, right? And I'm telling you, talking to these sisters, I've talked to sisters that have nothing. I've talked to sisters that want to be married. I've talked to sisters that are okay with being single. I've talked to sisters who have corrected me on a great deal of things. I've looked at my mother, who was a wife to the end. She passed away being a wife, loving on her husband and loving on her children. I've looked at so many different versions. I've looked at women who have money, are married to men who have more money than them. I'm talking about millionaires and stuff. I've been blessed to be able to see a lot of these different things and what life has taken me. And I promise you, the rich woman that y'all think is, oh, she don't need blah blah this and that or whatever. She might have a rich husband. She's still looking for her husband to make her feel secure. I mean, it helps, but I'm just saying, those things, she's looking for security. She having problems too. He's having problems too. I talk to men with money. They having problems too. I'm talking about men who have multiple places, moving into a lot of land, things like that or whatever. Like, they having problems too. So this whole thing of, like, you got to see when the rubber meets the road, you're not going to be looking as much as you might think it is, much as you're used to. See, we're listening to people who are very warped, and what happens is they've used capitalism to protect their warped perception. Right. I don't remember the name. I don't know the name of the guy, but the guy who just got, that was a former MMA fighter and has a lot of money, got taken off of Instagram and Facebook and a couple other places, YouTube, I think, as well. I don't know his name, but one of the red pill guys or whatever. And he talks a great game. And he tells all these guys, yeah, you got to treat a woman like this. And he's like, when I have sex with a woman, he says F a woman. But, when I have sex with a woman, sometimes I'll F her to where I make her feel, like she's nothing and stuff like that, to control. Like, and that's a very warped perception of value. However, he has enough money to where he can protect himself and allow to do it. And there's a lot of women who think that their value is nothing more than just to be used and controlled. And so those women come running. And so he has like a revolving door policy, right? But interestingly enough, he ain't really happy. Now, somebody says, who are you to say? I don't know his name. It might be Anthony something. I don't know. But, and when you listen to him, here's the deal. All the stuff that he's talking about, why is it that he has to come on and consistently tell women they ain't nothing? Why is it that he has to go out of his way? Why is it that even though they took him down from social media, he's doing his best to get back on? Because his happiness is not coming from his relationships. His happiness is coming from control, but he ain't really happy. Now, here's something else. Watch this. He might be even happy, if you want to use that term, but he definitely don't have no joy, because joy is not attached to your emotion, right? Joy is not attached to your emotion. You can be happy, you can be sad, and you can still have joy. You can be sad and still have joy, right? So he has no joy. He has to do other things to get his endorphins and certain things. He gets off on it. It's like an orgasmic experience for him to control somebody. Kevin Samuel, I say Kevin Samuel is somebody I disagree with, but I give Kevin Samuel more credit than others simply because of this. Kevin Samuel will at least from time to time, doesn't do it as much as I think he needs to, but at least from time to time, he'll talk to brothers and be like, y'all need to get your stuff together too. Right. But Kevin Samuels, he has a very warped perception. And by the way, here's something that we don't want to talk about with Kevin Samuel, but you know what? Something that happened with Kevin Samuel? Kevin Samuel came from the church, y'all. Don't forget that. Kevin Samuel was up here in the word. Kevin Samuel was a youth pastor. He came from a certain group of people, Nicolaitan doctrine, that you're warned about it twice in the book of Revelation, but people don't really read the Bible and study it enough. Nicolaitan doctrine, Nicolaitan, Nikos, laity. Nikos means conquerors, laity means lay people. When you go to a church and they talk about people in the pews, and thanks for the love, by the way. When you talk about people in the people in the pews are lay people, right? And the other people are conquerors, right? Nikos, they conquer other people, right? So Nikos is conquer, laity is lay people. So he came from a situation to where if you want to be valued, you're supposed to be conquered. The people who are supposed to preach are supposed to be the ones you value, and the people who are lay people, right? One of the joys that I have as being a helot, or it's y'all would call clergy and stuff nowadays, one of the joys that I have is that people will say, man, you and your wife, y'all serve a lot. And I'm like, well, why shouldn't we serve? But they'll say, no, we come from places where pastors don't serve. And then you got to stop and think and be like, yeah, that's true, because Nicolaitan, right? The pastor's supposed to be fed first. The minister is supposed to go first. This person's supposed to do the all this stuff. But the reality is that in order to be the greatest, you have to be the least. And the least are always the greatest. But you're trying to be part of a system that says, be great like me. See how great I am? You got to be great like me. But the reality is in a real system, and something that's going to last more than money, something that's going to last more than this person once they pass away, and a real system that's going to keep on going, right? People need to be treated like they are the greatest when they are the least, right? And I'm glad that you have a place where you say your pastor's down to earth, right? But that's not everybody's experience. But I'm just saying that's the vibe. Cirque or church, where that comes from, that's the vibe. A lot of people don't study these terms. That's why that's why you're allowed to do that. Don't forget, even those who are Protestants, right? Whatever version of Protestantism you claim to be part of, that system of being Protestant is something that came right out of Roman Catholicism, right? That system came out of it. So even in the megachurch system, right? The megachurch system says what? This one person is the end all be all of everything. And if we put so much stock in that person, that when that person who's been living like a god, trying to be a false version of Elohim, they've been living like a deity. How you doing, brother TJ? They've been living like like a saint, like a Saint Mary, or somebody you would bow down to. Like somebody, I remember going, being in an assembly, and we were at a very small, at the time, it was a very small church. And I was at this church or whatever, and there was a minister there, or I think he was minister select at the time, and they went to see T.D. Jakes preach at First Baptist Church of Glen Arden, I believe, up in Maryland. And the pastor, have a great word and everything. Bishop T.D. Jakes comes and preaches, no problem with that. And I wasn't there for that, but I've gone and seen Bishop T.D. Jakes preach in person before, so no problem with that. However, here's where the problem comes in: the mentality, the false value, right? The value system. The bishop that was there, who took the minister select to see Bishop T.D. Jakes, he said when we were there, the man of God, Bishop T.D. Jakes, put his hand on the minister select. Everybody was quiet, and I was sitting there. I was playing piano, but I was just sitting there like, what? Like, what does that have to do with anything? And, right? Like, I guess if you want to say we praise y'all that he got blessed, sure. But he kept saying, no, y'all don't understand. When Bishop T.D. Jakes put his hand on somebody and blah, blah. Now, I get it. Like, I've prayed for people. I've laid hands. I don't lay hands on any man or woman suddenly, but I've laid hands led by the Spirit or whatever. But just because I put my hands on you, on your head, and I say you blessed, doesn't mean that you should automatically say, like, lose your stuff as if like you're into the celebrity of it rather than the healing. You see what I'm saying? So when we talk about these things, you have to be in a position to where, like, you have to recognize we're out of pocket when it comes to the value of one another. Thank you, Sister Shlonda. How you doing? Right? We gotta get out of pockets, right? Like, yeah, TD Jakes is a man, and I'm thankful for a lot of things that TD Jakes showed me at certain points in my life that I need. Real talk. He motions is something that was very valuable for me. Before he motions, I was glad that he said, "Women, thou art loose." I'm glad for his things that he's talked about as far as help the devils in my home. That's a series that you can barely find on YouTube and stuff anymore. But that thing, man, kept me up. And wanted me to be a better and greater human being, let alone husband, and to look for a real wife. Right. So I'm thankful for those things. It's not coming against him. I'm just saying when we make the celebrity of him more important than the one who created him, that's when we have a problem. Our value is warped. Right. And it's the same thing in the system. Thank you, La Voice. Appreciate it. LA Voice. Sorry. Appreciate it. Right. But that's, we have this thing twisted. Right. Don't ever. Right. Don't ever. And I know y'all don't really do it. Right. But don't ever think that just because I'm the man of Yah or the man of God or whatever, that I'm better than you. The second I begin to act better than you is the second that I'm the least in the kingdom. Right? You see what I'm saying? The second I begin to to do those things is the second that you have to start saying to yourself, something ain't right about that. Something not righteous about that. No problem, Sister Cynthia. How you doing? Right? Like the second that I have gotten to a place to where I cannot admit fault is the second that you need to leave me alone. Right? And that's the problem is now, because watch this. Ultimately, Yahweh is supposed to be our husband. Or as the person was saying earlier, some people say Yahuwah, some people want to say Yahweh, etc. Right? But Elohim, he is our husband in this equation. Right? And we are supposed to be the bride. Right? Yashra, even if you want to look at that term, he's the bridegroom, we are the bride, right? And so here we are having a conversation, and the reason why we love the Most High is because of his mission for us. And therefore, we have no problem being in submission to that mission because it is inclusive of us, right? He says things to us, to his bride. He says things to us like, it is not my will that any of you would perish, but that all would have everlasting life. Oh, that's a bar right there. I want to go out now. Take me out to a drink after for a drink after you said that. you know, um, you know, he'll say things like, he'll say straight up, "You are my wife, and I'm your husband." He'll say things like, "You are fearfully and wonderfully made." He'll say things like, "Be ye holy as I am holy." In other words, I hold myself accountable. So I'm not asking you to hold yourself accountable, wife, for anything that I, as your husband, will not hold myself accountable for. But then we get into these relationships with women instead of wives, or we get blessed with a wife, right? And then we sit up there and we try to do the opposite of what he says. And we say, bow down to me. I bow down to him, bow down to me. The Most High, although you bow down to him, sure, his focus is not for you to bow down to him, but he would love for you to be in tune with his mission. He is already who he is without you needing to bow down. Right? How you doing? Is it Lady J60? Right? He's already and where he needs to be. He doesn't need us. See, and this is part of the problem with a lot of husbands, right? Or a lot of men in general, is that we live in a culture where, once again, the only way to we all feel, I don't even care about color right now in this moment, even though we could talk about the differences between cultures and all men are in a system to where you feel like you are disrespected. But your respect should not come from anybody else outside of the system that you claim to be part of. Thank you, Sister Barbara. Right? But a lot of men feel disrespected, right? But you don't realize that if you would just tap into who you already are, right? How you doing, Apothecary? Laris Apothecary, how you doing? Right? If you would tap into who you already are, I'm already great within myself. When my wife and I became one and decided we would become married, we did not need each other to become who we already were. What we need from each other is to become who we shall become. Did y'all catch that? I know it feels like I'm kind of going in different places, but just stay with me, right? My wife was great before she met me, right? She did not need me to be great. She decided that she wanted to become greater with somebody and therefore allowed me to become one with her. Okay. So she is not dependent on me for greatness. She has decided to become interdependent with me so that two people can become one in greatness together. And that is what we're missing. The value is not in what I can do without you, because the reality is, yes, everybody can be valuable by themselves. You are valuable by yourself, right? You can be valuable to this world without Yahweh, right? But if you want to be valuable for eternity, you cannot do it without being interdependent upon him. See, in his word, he says stuff like he's interdependent with you. He says that you are supposed to preach his word. He didn't say that every time something happens. See, this is where people who are outside of natural law and universal law get this thing twisted. You think that people say, I need proof of Elohim. I need proof of a deity. I need proof of the spirit. I need proof of this God. I need proof of whatever, right? I need proof of this nature. I need proof of the spirit. The reality is that all this thing that you're looking for in proof, you ain't going to find it until you're interdependent with the one who's in the spirit. Hallelujah. Right? You're not going to find the spirit if you can't be interdependent with the spirit. Yeah, there's proof all around us, but what I'm saying is that if you're looking for physical evidence only, you're going to miss it, because you still got to take the physical to make it manifest, or make it, how about this, make it join up with the spirit. Like I can tell you that, yeah, 10, 6, 5, 6, right, is what your DNA is made out of. But if you don't know the characters, Yad, Che, Vav, Che for Yahavach, then you're not going to be able to see the two things together. It's interdependence. What about in his word where he says stuff like Matthew 24, verse 14? I'm not coming back. Yahshua says, I'm not coming back until you preach this particular interpretation of the word throughout the world. Once you do that, then I'm coming back. In other words, fine, I'll come back. But you as my wife, I need you to submit to this mission. I've already died for the mission. I need you to just simply speak on the mission, which goes to Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8. Husbands give direction and wives lay down the law. So he's not going to be disobedient to his own system. Our husband says, hey, I done gave direction. I lived it. I taught it. I preached it. I healed with it. I changed mindsets with it. I changed hearts with it. I forgave with it. He said, now I've given the direction. He said, now you, my wife, you're supposed to lay down the law. I don't mind when my wife lays down the law, right? No husband in here, right? And men, you can tell me if I'm wrong, especially husbands, but no husband in here, and you can be pre-qualified to be a husband, amen, right? But no husband in here is sitting up here saying that I want to lay down the law. Matter of fact, that's tiring, that's taxing, right? As a husband, I'm trying to do what? I'm trying to give direction. If I feel like my direction is listened to, then you will see me feel respected, and I will back off on a lot of different things, because I just want to give direction, and I'm going to live direction, and I'm going to walk in direction, right? And then you lay down the law. You get to tell me, okay, if you want this direction to happen, well, I'm your helpmeet, so I need you to do this. No problem. As long as you're taking us towards direction, I will follow whatever law you say. You said you're newly married and giving direction is typically your role. Oh, just got married. Hey, what's up, bruh? Long time no talk to. I didn't know you just got married. Okay, congrats. Right? But that's it's biblically in there. It's in your Bible. Read your Bible to bless you. It specifically says, give direction, husbands, and wives lay down the law. But what happens a lot of times, what do we reverse? The wife is laying down the law, and the husband is the wife is giving direction. Husband's now trying to lay down the law. You got that thing reversed. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that thing reversed. You're looking for your stuff to go higher, but you reverse, you going lower, and can't figure out why. Well, I'm here to tell you, it might be because of the culture. It might be because of the things like that, right? If that's your way of saying hello to you too, user 1800. Thank you for being on. So these are the things that, like, we have to recognize and realize, right? Like, we're having this conversation about this stuff, and it's not based off of anything but lunacy, but fallacy, right? We're trying to have our marriages grow, but we're doing everything to have them decrease. See, but what needs to happen is you must decrease that Yahweh might increase in your life, right? If I'm going to become interdependent, see, when I was independent, right, which part of it, once again, if you get to a place to where you're training these babies up right, they won't be independent because they'll always be interdependent first with the Most High, right? But see, when you're independent, you got to recognize that, guess what? That means that you are not going to depend on anybody for anything. Hello, Fireball. How you doing? If that's the best you can do, keep trying to do better in your life, right? And I hope you have a great day, right? But see what I'm saying? If somebody wants to talk, if you're going to be independent, what you're saying is, I don't want anybody. See, technically, you were never independent, anyways, because every society is based off the individual, and every individual is based off of the society, right? So you were independent. If you were careful, see, this mindset of independence, it doesn't even make sense. There is no person who's ever been independent. There's no person who's ever been independent. I'm independent. I'm strong and independent. No, you ain't. I don't need no woman to tell me nothing. Yes, you do. I don't even need no woman. You couldn't have been here without a woman. But you're so busy talking about your independence. You love independence. Declaration of Independence. They weren't independent. They weren't independent. How much money did they have to get from France to fight their war? They weren't independent. How many natives did they have to use, and then they killed them off after they finished using them? But how many natives did they use to make sure that they could win? They were independent. There's no such thing as independence. It's a lie. I know on contracts and stuff you might look at those, but you're not independent. And the second you realize that, you start realizing, who are you interdependent with? That's the problem. Nobody here should be totally dependent, by the way. I'm totally dependent on everything that the Most High says. I'm totally dependent on God. I'm totally dependent on that. You better not be, because he don't ask you for that, right? He said, I'm on interdependence. He said, I'm going to do some things and you're going to do some things. That's what covenant is. That's what a contract is. You have an express contract with the Most High, and you're not subscribing to what's written, right? And then here he comes later on with judgment as the trustor, looking at the trust. As the trustor, he wrote out the agreement. He's looking for both of y'all to be the beneficiary, and he wants you to be able to get what's there, but he got to be the trustee. He's got to look at what it is that's written there, and you don't want to look at the very contract that you got yourself into. Brother, even who came on earlier, he said, fathers and sons, right? I need you to realize, like, even Malachi, everybody talks about Malachi chapter 3. They skip right over where it talks about Yahshua and John the Baptist and all that, and they go straight into the tithe. But don't forget the end of Malachi chapter 4, verse 6, before we have about a 400 years of nothing being written as far as scrolls that we have today. You have 400 years of silence. And what's the last thing it says before Yahshua, the son, who eventually is going to become married to us, his bride? And he's going to die for his bride and be resurrected, that his bride, if she dies, she'd be able to be resurrected with him and have many mansions to go inside of. What does it say, Malachi chapter 4, verse 6, the very last verse? It says that the hearts of the fathers must return to the children. The hearts of the children must return to the father. That's what it says. Now, what does that mean? What is the value in that? See, let's talk about the truth about value. We started this thing that's become a series now, talking about, if we're going to have an honest discussion, let's first be honest. What does it mean that the father's heart is not with the children, and the hearts of the children are not with the father? The father, the source, right? Our father, we've gone far away from him, including in marriage. We think that marriage needs a license. We think that if we get married, then we can have sex. This is what we believe. Not truth to it, but this is what we believe. Right? We believe that somebody should get married and then they will become a spouse. We believe that your child should go to school and then they'll be educated properly, but then they never learn themselves. How many of you went to school and learned yourself? See, people say this all the time. I'm so thankful that I went to college and it taught me about myself. Or I went to a HBCU and it taught me who I was or whatever. Really? Did it really? You should have known who you were before you went to college. And Son of the King, don't worry about Drip Pack. That's my brother over there. So whatever it is, I don't know what you said, but y'all can go ahead. You know, I don't know what's going on, right? But even in that, you see, like we have more arguments with each other than we're not careful, right? You said Eve didn't come with instructions. If we were going to talk about Chava or Adam and Eve, we had to have an honest conversation even about that. Where did y'all, like why do we think that there's, like, watch this. Why did Adam even know that he needed Eve? Let's just ask that question. See, we're not reading it culturally. We're not putting it in perspective. Why did Adam even know he needed Eve? Y'all be thinking Adam didn't need Eve, blah, blah, this and that. He was doing everything, or it was just a sexual thing, or he needed her to have babies. No. Why did Adam know he needed Eve? How you doing, Sister Betty? Right? That's what he said. He said, it says he had to help me, sure. He didn't know the Father knew. Yeah, but before, the Father knew first, exactly. But when did Adam realize that he needed Eve? He needed help. Okay, we're almost there. We're getting there, right? It's in the scripture. Adam had to work. No, not even when he had her. He realized before he was put to sleep. Adam had to work. See, at first he didn't, right, Alex? Like at first he didn't. At first he didn't know. Adam had to work. It was in his work that he found the need for a wife. Once again, where's your mission at? If you want a wife to be in submission, you won't even know what you need until you're in your mission. The Lord said, sure, right? But what happened first? He had to work. He had to tend to the garden. He had to name the animals. He was taken out of Eden and then put in the garden. So he was outside the garden. It was put in there. Garden was created for him to live inside of, but he was in his work, right? Adagon, he was in his work, right? And so he said so Adam names all the other animals. That's what it says. And as he looked around, he was naming and naming and naming and naming and naming and naming. It says he realized that he ain't had nobody to do what those other animals had to do for him. There was nobody on his level. There was nobody great enough for him. There was nobody doing what he was doing. And then when he realized that, what is the Most High, who already knew that, but put him through the work, through the mission, so that he would realize it for himself, then the Most High says, see, it's not valuable. It's not constitutional. It's not good that man be alone. He said, so I will make for him a helpmeet. I'll make you one. You see now that you doing all this stuff and it's great and everything and you got a mission, but in your mission, you see that you ain't gonna be able to do this by yourself. Right? Y'all see that? Like he said, I'm gonna show you your mission. Yeah, you're great by yourself, but you can be greater. See, one gives flight to 1,000, but two will give flight to 10,000. By giving you a helpmeet, I automatically multiplied you exponentially. You were fruitful, but you got to multiply. And then together you can replenish the things that are not there, or the things that have been replenished, taken, you can replenish together and therefore subdue. You have a mission to be submitted to, submission, under the mission. And by being under the mission, anything that is under you will be due to you. By you being underneath the mission, being underneath the mission, you will get what's due to you. His word, right? So then he's put to sleep, and then out of him. See, he already had everything he needed within him. So he's great by himself. However, if I take what's out of you and make it to where now I've doubled you up, you're going to have exponential growth. And so for this cause, the Most High didn't say this part, but it was Adam that said, what? For this cause, because you just did all this for me. And I see this wife and I see who she is. For this cause, will every single child that I have and every other human being that's around, for this cause, will a man leave his mother and father? I get it now, right? The wife is important. This is why you need to find a wife, because if you leave your mother and father and cleave to your wife and she's not really a wife, you're going to be in some foolishness. You said you come ready. That was your point. Okay. And I've made my point as well. And I think our points don't clash. But thank you. We're not against each other. I don't know where that's coming from. Right. But I'm talking to a whole bunch of people, not just one person. So hopefully you're not taking it personal. Right. But if you're in a situation where you don't have a wife, you will find out. Those of you who've been in situations where you've been with a woman and not a wife, or somebody with a little girl mentality, or you walked down the aisle and thought you would become a wife, or you walked down the aisle with somebody you thought they would become a husband, you in trouble. I'm not saying it won't work, but you're going to have some work to do. You should have already been in your work as a husband, and you find your wife in your work. Right? You said, or if a woman cleaves to a man that doesn't submit to the Most High and no mission, direction, etc. Yeah, exactly. Like we said earlier, same thing, right? I'm in agreement with you, Elio. Like, yeah, like I've got it. So if I don't know my work, then I won't know my worth. See, sisters, that's why you keep talking about you looking for a man with a job, or a man with credits, or a man who does this, or a man who knows 75 scriptures. Like, find a man in his work, and you will find his worth. A man doesn't need to know his work. He should. Problem is that a lot of us don't. Once again, you're part of a system that says get a job, but not a work. Get a job, get it together. What about my work, though? My value is going to come through my work. Watch this. I can retire from my job. I can never retire from who I am. Like we're limited today because we're going to get ready for Shabbat Shalom service. So somewhere between 9:30, 9:45 p.m. or sorry, 9:30, 9:45 a.m. Eastern. That's going to be a long live. 9:30 a.m., 9:45 a.m. Eastern today. This will stop so that somebody else can be ready to give us what we need on the podcast, right? However, just because I'm finished doesn't mean that my work is done. Just because I stopped this, right? Like, for some people, you go to your job and you think that's your worth. That's why a lot of men, when they can't make the money they're making, they feel terrible, because the system you're in says you're not a man if you don't have money. But the reality is, if you have a work, you become an ATM machine, and it's an ATM machine in the spirit. Meaning, what I mean by that is that, see, when we don't recognize how the ATM machine works. The person who created the ATM machine woke up one day. He said he had a vision. He said he had a vision. I forget what his name is, but he said he had a vision. He said, I had a vision that I could literally have a box that people could come up to, and I would put money in it. And they would take money, but they would also put money inside. And I would not have to do anything but just let the ATM be there. And it would literally be a current system. Stuff would flow in, stuff would flow out. Stuff would flow in, stuff would flow out. Stuff would flow in, stuff would flow out. You become an ATM machine. Watch this. I'm gonna use goodness because that's what the word people use. So, the Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me down the path of righteousness for His name's sake. Yea, do I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for Thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comforteth me. Thou preparest a table in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. All that to get to this. Surely what? Surely goodness and mercy. Some of you would call it constitution and mercy. Some of you would even call it grace and mercy, right? But surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And I will dwell in the house or the family of Adon, the Lord, forever. Not just through this life, not just for this job, not just for this season, but I will dwell in His family and His house forever. But surely the things that you call goodness and mercy, they're supposed to follow. Why do you chase what follows? We're out of order. See what I'm saying? The value system. And thank you for the love. Appreciate it. We're out of order. Right? Don't chase. Watch this. Let's use the same word good, right? Here comes good again. Proverbs 18:22. um, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtaineth favor from the Lord. Well, if it's a good thing or it's a constitutional thing or a valuable thing, then it means that I don't have to chase it because it follows after me. If I'm in position, that's the key. That's the value. If I'm valuable in my position and I'm following what's valuable, then the things that chase after me have to follow what's valuable. Hey, how you doing, Philip? I believe it was Philip. Sorry, the name scrolled up. Right? We're busy chasing stuff that's not for us and therefore trying to figure out what's all this stuff that's behind me. If you go in the wrong direction, then the stuff behind you is going to be going in the wrong direction. If you're going in the correct direction, the stuff behind you is going. It's called drafting. Y'all ever played a racing game or been in a race car or done some, got on a motorcycle and done the cross rocket thing or whatever? If you're behind something that's going fast and you get in the draft, then whatever's behind you, you have to use less RPM. You don't have to use as much to be able to follow what's in front of you. Oh, see, somebody misses. Yeah, I use less because I'm following something that's already got me in the draft. Amen. Natural law, right? See, it's natural. It's in nature. Why do a lot of these animals even follow? If you're in a herd of buffalo and you're the last buffalo doesn't even have to work as hard. Even if it's the slowest, it can still keep up sometimes with the herd, because if you got a whole bunch of buffalo, I don't know how fast buffalo travel, 25, 30 miles per hour, I don't know. All right, but whatever it is, if you got a whole herd of buffalo traveling, if you got a whole herd of wildebeest traveling, you got zebra, if you got zebra, wildebeest, and what's the other ones that be giraffes sometimes be hanging around, but something else to be hanging around with them too, and they all going together. Even if you sick or you're not as fast, if you can just catch the movement, you can be picked up in the draft, right? Like you can just be picked up and be like, okay, I don't have enough energy, but I feel like a second wind. You actually feel in the draft, right? The value is being together. The value is figuring out how do we work together. The value is not in being independent. The value is in interdependence. How can the Bible says be equally yoked? Y'all be talking about that means we got to agree on everything. No, it doesn't. Equally yoked means you got one ox that's bigger than the other, and right, but it's older usually. You got one ox that's and therefore it's weaker, even though it's bigger. You got another ox that's usually smaller, but it's stronger because it's younger, but it doesn't know the commands. The older one knows the commands. You put them together when the older one knows the commands, but it can't take them where they need to or can't do the stuff on its own. The younger one says, I don't know the commands, but I can follow. When the stronger one doesn't know what to do, the older one say, hey, that's not what the voice said. I promise you, if you want to eat, you want to get out of this sooner, come on this way. They both help each other. Yeah, no, it doesn't mean to be on. I mean, it means to be on the same page as far as you're yoked together, but you're yoked with somebody. When it says be equally yoked, the yoke is what is equal because you have the same yoke. But the oxen, right? If you ever get a chance to see it, ever get a chance to go back to West Africa, places where people don't think Israelites live and stuff, you'll be able to go back, look at those places. I promise you, when you go there, you'll see it. You'll be dumbfounded. First of all, you'll be dumbfounded at the size of an ox. Like it's one thing to see it on television. There's another thing to be like, oh, that's an ox. You know what I'm saying? Like the power. And I didn't even see a ox that was on swole. I saw like a ox that was a little underfed. And I still was just like, this thing, if it felt like, could just erase me, right? You know what I'm saying? But see, the ox didn't look at me just because it saw me weak in the physical. See, here's the deal. The ox, if I were to give the ox commands, thank you, LA Voice, appreciate it. If I were to give the ox commands, I didn't, by the way. I'm just saying, if I had given the ox commands, right, the ox would have followed the command, even if it could it felt like it could destroy me. Why? Because the command that I'm giving it is something for greater than what's in the second. See, that's why you got to stop looking at people. You got to look beyond what you see, and you got to press and strain. You got to strain some things out of you so that you can be valuable as this vessel, this wineskin that's supposed to carry this wine. Like the ox is not concerned about my appearance because the ox has been trained. A lot of them at that point from birth, sometimes not, but usually from birth, they've been trained that if you will take care of us, we will take care of you. There's an interdependence. The person who's speaking the command is depending on both ox who have to depend on each other to also learn the commands. And the ox that's older is doing something that's generational, right? That young ox might be doing whatever it wants, but that older ox is going to teach the next generation, because one day that older ox won't be here. Now the younger ox, he goes to that side, and now there's another ox. And when he goes to that side, he knows what happens when you go to that side because he's seen the other person from that perspective. So at first it's a little weird, it's a little daunting, but he realizes the value of that position he's in, and he's not going to let the other ox down. He's not going to let the master who gives the command down. He's not going to let, he knows that if he tills the land well enough, he gets to eat off that land that he helped till. He's grown up in this. How you doing, Sister Denise? He's grown up in this, right? So this is generational stuff. We got to deal with the elder. See, this is value. This is real value where it comes from. The problem is that once again, we don't even know about these principles. So we read, and somebody said, we got to know about the yoke. Yeah, the yoke, because the yoke is designed to be able to carry, to help you to carry things that you can't carry. Now, there's a yoke that goes above ours, where Yahshua says, give it to me, because my yoke is something that's designed particular for me, but we don't even comprehend yokes. I can't give a human being the yoke of an ox. You hear what I'm saying? I can't give the human being the yoke of an ass or of a donkey. I can't. I can't give a human being the yoke. I mean, technically, there's some yokes, even like, for example, there's some yokes that a man might have that you probably don't want a woman to have, and a woman might have that a man can't have. Because if you put the wrong yoke on something, right, or on someone, it can tear your skin off. Because the yoke is designed for that particular type of person or that particular type of creature. There can be yoke for people that are taller and have broader shoulders and that are stronger. There can be yoke for people that are going to put it on their head. There are different yokes. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate you. There are different yokes. And so we're carrying somebody else's yoke, somebody else's culture, and we're trying to take that value system and put it on us. Of course, it's ripping us apart. Of course, it's ripping you apart. You can't carry what a donkey can carry. You're not a donkey. You're a human. Uh-oh. Well, we evolved and blah, blah. No. That dolphin could never carry what you carry. But see, you use the same evolution type stuff, wrong culture. Use the same type of mindset now on your spouse. I need you to make sure that you're more, this and that, and you got to be more feminine. You got to be this and that or whatever. No. You need him to be masculine. Well, masculinity is toxic. No. If somebody hits their wife, that's not masculine. Don't put that yoke on him. That was your mistake. Thank you, Reeb. Appreciate it. That's your mistake. You put the yoke on him talking about that's masculine. No, he hit his woman. That's a little boy. If anything, that might be feminine, because we don't put no hands on no one. Unless I'm defending my life or the life of my family, I don't put my hand on no woman like that. See, that's the wrong yoke. You trying to put something on me that don't belong. You see the difference? Hallelujah. You see it? You see it? Right? We have a culture that's being put on us that's ripping us apart. Amen. We have his children and not his creatures carrying the wrong stuff. That's a great point, even Sister Shima, because we could go to one of our affirmations, which we started in July, right? Romans chapter 8, verse 19, that the creature is waiting on the manifestation of the sons of Elohim. The sons are different than the creation. See, when you become a child of the King, you can carry things with a different type of yoke that you can't carry when you're just a creation or a creature. Y'all catch that? See, we don't like that. But see, the suffering, Romans 8:18, Romans 8:19, let's put them together. The suffering of this present time is not worthy to be compared to the glory which shall be revealed. That's why you as a son can carry things, because you got some glory. Glory means weight, heaviness. So if I got a yoke on me, right, because I'm a son, I can carry the glory of the Most High in my life. But if I'm just a creation or a creature, I'm not in a position where I can carry it. So I don't get upset with creatures, even if they read the Bible. I don't get upset with people who are not yet manifested and turned into children of the Most High. I don't get upset if you can't carry this, because it's not for you yet. You hear what I'm saying? It's not for you yet. Newbie said, beat by the slaver, taught to be our own, out of anger, not out of love. Yeah. So there's things we're carrying. Why is it that somebody says, oh man, Lil Javon, he's smart. And you say, oh, if you knew all the stuff I had to do, why do you do that still to this day? Right? It's because that generations ago, if the slave master thought Lil Javon was smart, His name wouldn't have been Javon. They would have named him after themselves. But if they thought little Javon was smart back then, they would have said, oh, we're going to sell him. And so the mother would have to come and start saying, no, he's stupid, he dumb, he's slow, he don't listen, blah, blah, because she's hoping to depreciate his value. Because that means he won't be sold away from her and she'll be able to see her son. You know, don't forget, was it 1850, 1851, somewhere around there? I might be off, might even be before that. Oh, thank you for the love. I've never seen that one, the swan. That's pretty. Don't forget, it was our sister Sojourner Truth, who in Ain't I a Woman talked about how all her children were pretty much sold away. She didn't really get to know her own babies, right? And the hope and goal was that you can at least know one of them. I think she said she gave birth to something like 13. Her hope and goal was like, hey, maybe I can at least have one of them I can know. So she had to come up with stuff to protect her family. That's what she did because she wasn't secure, right? And you still have a lot of sisters that are going off of that generational damage where they still don't feel what? Secure. As a husband, are you ready to take that on? Husband, king, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Are you ready to put that on? Are you going to keep saying, oh, well, you don't look well enough, and you the only value in your 20s and 30s, and the only time when we have sex and breeding and stuff, you sound like a slave master. Of course, these wives ain't trying to be committed to you. Of course, they ain't trying to listen to that. Now, are they perfect? No. Is anybody perfect? No. But of course, you're looking for somebody 20, 30 because you think like the slave master. You think that the slave master has the best in line for you. And you can't be the slave master because you don't have the money the slave master had. You don't have the capital. You don't have the human beings in control. So you're trying to live like even if you thought being a slave master was cool, you're trying to live like the slave master. And the slave master has more than you have, which means that he can cocoon himself in something that you don't have the right to. You think that he's a beautiful butterfly, but you don't realize he had to create a cocoon. He had to eat as a caterpillar off of your labor, off of your women. He had to rape and pillage. He had to do all these different things. He had to kill off whole groups of people and call them victims after he did so he could be victorious and call himself a victor. And yet here you are trying to be like him, but you don't even have the capital he has. You can't even begin to be like him. Jeff Bezos, can go ahead and start cheating on his wife and say, hey, man, I'll give up a whole bunch of billions of dollars. I don't care. If somebody's trying to go ahead and then I'll buy the company that went ahead and put out my business and have my wife leave me or whatever. My wife, she can be rich and marry somebody else. I don't care. You ain't even got that. But you're trying to be like that. See what I'm saying? You don't even get his culture. You're trying to live his story. Right? History. You're trying to live his story and you don't even realize that can't even be your story right now. Even if you wanted to get there, you got generations to catch up on first. Might as well just get it done correctly in the first place. Right? And some people come up to me, man, you know what? We should have multiple wives and this and that or whatever. I'm like, if you can't take care of one, even if I believed it was okay to have multiple wives, if you can't take care of one, what we doing talking about multiple? If you don't even know what the definition of a wife is, if you're not even in your work to where you can find your wife. Because even the kings, whether they're African or otherwise, right? Even the kings that did that, the community didn't like it, but they were like, well, we'll let it go because at least you're putting kingdoms together. You just trying to have 3-4 women in a 3-bedroom apartment. Where they do that at? You ain't even got a house for each woman. Like you ain't even on a level to even do that yet. Right? Like, so before we start trying to be like these people that are doing that on a regular basis, at least get your life in order first. At least start some inward reparations. Why do you think reparations starts with 4 wives? Why don't you think reparations starts with your ability to be in the spirit? Let's start there first. Why is reparations got to be somebody else is going to give you their land? If they showing you they ain't going to give you their land, then start buying land and live with each other. We used to do that. Now we laugh at other communities when they come in and they be living 4 or 5 families in a 1-bedroom apartment. We used to do that. And then used to buy up the whole block eventually to where now our whole family could be living on a block next to each other. Everybody was your family. You went next door, not to just some random stranger or just neighbor, but everybody looked like you because we bought up our own stuff. Then all of a sudden integration happened and we forgot that the white man's ice wasn't colder. And we forgot that we built this together. And I'm just using white as a social construct to give an example, right? I don't really believe, and all the stuff that comes with that. But nevertheless, right, y'all get the example. Yeah, one is plenty. Yeah, like I'm here to tell you, like we have this false sense of stuff. We're looking at these people that are doing things. We're looking at Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, forgetting that before that it was Brad Pitt and Jennifer something, Jennifer Hudson. I don't know where. No, not Hudson. I don't know what her name was. And then, or is their name even Jennifer? I don't know. And then before there was Brad Pitt and somebody else, and now it's Brad Pitt and somebody else, and it'll keep on being. And before it was Johnny Depp and whatever the girl's name is now. It was some Johnny Depp and somebody else he's married with for all those years. Then he got rid of her to be able to go with the young girl, right? The 50-something-year-old with the 20-something-year-old. And then before that, it was Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder and stuff like that. And before that, you know what I'm saying? Like we're not, and Johnny Depp will be the first person to tell you that he's got issues because his mama wasn't what he needed her to be, and his daddy was never in his life. Why is that the standard? Why is that the standard, y'all? Jennifer Aniston, thank you. Why is that the standard? It's the standard because that's the culture that you seek. But why do you seek that culture? Do you seek it because it's actually valuable? Or do you seek it because that's what we were told to seek? Seek ye first the kingdom. Is that kingdom? Is Brad Pitt kingdom? If he's not, don't seek it. Seek ye first the kingdom. What's his name? Brother Polite out there. I don't know if he's still in jail or whatever. Remember, he's messing around with these little girls now, basically like raping and fouling and stuff like that, these little girls and stuff. And it's coming out or whatever. Everybody's lifting up Brother Polite or whatever. Brother Polite out here messing around with little girls and messing around with women that can be controlled mentally. Why would you want to have a woman that you can't depend on when the rubber meets the road because you made her into a slave? Why would you want a slave? See, be careful who you're lifting up. Umar Johnson was out here telling y'all need to be celibate, and come to find out he was going to strip clubs and sleeping with all the strippers, right? Telling you he was anti-white. He was sleeping with white women too. I'm not saying that you can't sleep. I'm telling you, he said that his standard was not sleeping with white women. Yet he probably was sleeping with white women. Then all of a sudden he said, yeah, we need to make sure that we're great husbands to wives. Then all of a sudden he gets 2 wives and marries 2 girls at the same time. Like when, and I think Dr. Umar Johnson has a lot of great points, but obviously he ain't living what's going to help the community. Like he has a lot of great points about the community, but he ain't living it. There comes a certain point where now, okay, fine, let's start living this thing. Right? Let's start living this thing. Let's be honest about where you are. That's why from the beginning, right? Even though we didn't get the 30 families and that connection and stuff, but I've been honest about the process of like y'all's land project. And now that I've got, time, I told y'all, like once I get back down south, I'm gonna be putting in work for quite a few months. That's gonna be my focus. Focus. Precedence training. So at least at some point I can say bare minimum, we got it. Now let's start putting the food on there. Right? But he wasn't even honest. Like he had millions of dollars and didn't even at least purchase land. Like I could have been like, hey, Dr. Umar, like then he purchased the building, but then he ain't got no money to do nothing with the building. You hear what I'm saying? Like we've gotten to this place where we've been messed up. We take pride in, oh yeah, I'm still sexy enough, or I still got enough money where I can pull these little, 20-something-year-olds and 30-something-year-olds, and I'm 70 trying to get with the 30 and 40-year-old and stuff. Like for what? You got to comprehend, like they're gonna have pieces of what you need, sure, but they're not gonna give you what you need. Right? They're gonna have a little bit of what you need, but they're gonna have pieces of what you need. They're not ready for mission. Remember, you're not even qualified to be a rabbi or rabbi in our culture until you're 30 years of age. Develop yourself. Yeah, honesty and contentment with self is key. Develop yourself. If a man desires the office of a pastor, he desires a great work. However, first let him be husband to one wife. Let's see how we do with that first. Develop yourself. Are you worthy of a wife? Why are you trying to talk? See, people be on here, it blows my mind, right? Oh, how you doing, Pastor Hamilton, Grand Rising? Right? People blow my mind with this stuff. Can I be honest with y'all for a second? This is mind-numbing and mind-blowing to me. How you got this 48, the person we were talking about earlier today, my wife and I were talking about, you got this 48-year-old dude, never been married, no children, but you ready to tell everybody about being a husband and a wife. No wonder we're so messed up. See, once again, going back to the culture, first 3 years, we're supposed to teach you are male or female. You're supposed to be breastfed. That's it. That's your only concern. Somewhere in there, you can walk. Somewhere in there, you can start learning words. We're not concerned with that as much as, hey, male or female, breastfed. Those are two things that show you love, oxytocin level, even if you want to go to the physical, but love. And they show you what? They show you mission. Because males are going to have a different mission, and females are going to have a different mission. And then eventually they're going to have to come into submission together. But today you teach them what? We don't even want you to breastfeed. We want you to have formula rather than what's real. And we want you to do what? We want you to actually listen. I'm sorry. We want you to, and we don't want you to actually be who you are. Don't be a male. Don't be a female. You said, what if he wants to be child free? Well, if you want to be child free, I mean, if that's what you called to be, then do what you called to be. Even though if you're child free, though, hopefully you learn how to deal with children, and hopefully you learn how to deal with parents, and hopefully if hopefully if you're going to open your mouth up to somebody going through some type of issue that they talk to you about, you would know enough about how the culture works to be able to say this is something that maybe you want to try. Because once again, no individual is greater than the society. No society is greater than the individual. So if you're single, be single out here. Right? That's the first thing people go, well, what if you single in this year? I mean, that's cool. I'm not coming against you. I'm just saying I get that question a lot. Like, that's cool, be single. But I'm telling you, like, the married folks still affect you, just like the single folk affect you, just like the baby's going to affect you, just like the governors and the mayors and the presidents. But those people affect you less if you got your own system. Right? I don't know day to day what Congress is doing because it doesn't affect me like it affects others. That's why I don't know. It's not because I'm trying to say I'm better than them. Okay, Ohio in the house, how you doing? We got some other Ohioans in. You said without experience of the things you're going to teach me, you can't teach me. Yeah, or at least without having some kind of outline, right? Like I can't give you the experience of what it feels like to do crack, but I've been around enough crackheads helping them out. Right? It's sorry to say it that way, that's the term, but I've been around enough people who have been, fiends or people who had addictions to be able to say like, yeah, like these are some things you probably want to make sure you deal with. I've listened to people, and so the same thing, right? That's why we have this thing that we call our canon. We call it our constitution. You might call it your Tanakh or your Torah. You might call it your Bible, your word, etc. Right? Your Apocrypha, your Book of Enoch, your Book of Jasher, your Chronicles of Noah, etc. Right? We have these items because we need to see something that's past the temporary and that's real. The real is really the eternal. Right? Amen. And we got to work with all, right? As many as we're led to work with. See, that's one thing that I don't do. I'm not here to save the world. Matter of fact, Yahweh didn't send Yashua to save the world. He sent Yashua to save those who decide to come out of it. How you doing, Sister Deja? Right? He sent those who want to come out of it. Who want to come out of it. Like that's what he did. How you doing, Sherilyn? That's what he did. That's what he's looking for. Right? And so ages 0 to 3, train them up correct, male, female, breastfed. Like that's it. Why? Next 3 years after that, if you're a male, wean them from mama. If you're a female, wean them, but also keep them close to mom somewhat. Why? Because ages 7 to 9, the female will become the daughter will become mom's apprentice. The son will become dad's apprentice. The next 3 years after that, ages 10 to 12, what are we going to do? We're going to make sure that we give you a proper education. We, the parents, not the school system, we, the parents, are going to be charged with making sure you're educated. Then ages 13 to 15, we're going to train you on what it is to be a husband. To be an adult male or an adult female. And then we're going to bring you in front of a group of people. We're going to have a board that's familiar with our ways, customs, and traditions to say what's going on. That's why you have that bar mitzvah or bar matzavah or bat matzavah or bat mitzvah, right? You're going to have that comes up next, right? That's saying that, hey, we've approved it. And so now we've approved you. You're going to do in front of everybody. You're going to quote some things, show some things, and show that you are ready to be able to take on the responsibility of being an adult. But we're still not finished. Ages 16 to 18, now we're going to train you on what it is to be a husband or a wife, or to have even a husband or a wife, right? And then we're going to train you on what it is to be a father and a mother, and be able, therefore, to be able to help the father and the mother you'll be married to. Then at age 21, Hey, daughter, continue with your business, stuff like that, but we're gonna make sure we watch over you at the house because we still need to make sure that we make you feel secure. Meanwhile, son, go out there. Here's your inheritance, right? So the father of the bride saves the inheritance for his bride because when she gets married, he's going to give that money up to his bride then, right? The father of the son and the mother of the son as well, they're going to give the son the inheritance because we trained you on everything that you need to do. Now go out there and do what it is that we taught you to do. And when you get married now, right, or when you find somebody, you find a wife and she recognizes you as a husband, we're going to talk to each other's parents, we're going to talk to the community, we're going to make sure that we actually have a license of betrothal, and then she's going to prepare herself for her husband, right, therefore getting ready to stop being independent in a sense or interdependent with her father, and she's going to become dependent. I'm sorry, she's going to become interdependent with her husband. She's going to prepare herself to make that transition. Meanwhile, he's going to do what? He's going to prepare himself for his wife. He's going to build a house. He's going to build a mansion. He's going to go from his land. He's going to go back to his father's land. He's going to build an add-on to his father's house. That's what it's called. That's what a mansion is. And when builds on that mansion, when he builds on that add-on, his father will know the day when he's finished because his father's going to watch over and tell him how to build it. When his father thinks that he's ready to go get his bride, then he's going to say, go back and get your bride. That's why no one knows the day nor the hour except the father. Right? You see that? It's different. It's a different type of culture. Right? And what a wealth of instruction, right? Because now the son who got his inheritance is doing what his father does, but has his own version of the business out there. He's going to bring back his family to his father's house at first. This is very African in nature as well, by the way, because when a wife gives birth to a child, she's not supposed to do nothing. Parents are coming over, brothers and sisters coming over, communities coming over. All she really does the first 3 months is heal and breastfeed. She's not really even putting in all that much time as far as what y'all think emotionally with the child, because the community's going to raise the child anyways, but the child's going to get everything he needs with that oxytocin, with the breastfeeding. See, so now we come full circle to where now the child is in that 0 to 3 range, and they're starting to get the same training that mama got, that daddy got. And now we're having a generational conversation, even in the milk that's flowing, which is what? Blood. So the bloodline is flowing and is speaking just as much as the community is speaking, just as much as the Most High is speaking over others, even if the baby can't comprehend yet that this is the Most High is doing. But see, we're so Americanized that we're fighting just to see if a woman can get 2 weeks off work, right? 2 weeks off her job. That's what we're fighting for. How dare we turn around to these same sisters and be like, man, I had my baby on Monday. I had to go back to work on Thursday. How dare we look at them and say, y'all have no right to talk about you don't feel secure? Of course they don't feel secure. And it's the system. See, it's not the person. People get offended because you think I'm talking about you. You think I'm coming at you. You think I'm like directing bad things. No, I'm not directing and saying you're a bad person. I'm saying the system you're part of. It's like that old ACAB, all cops are bad thing that people be trying to put out there. That you can be the best cop you want to be, but if the system of cophood still goes back to slave patrolmen, ain't gonna be but so much change. If your systematic and systemic thought process concerning marriage is concerned with slavery, you're going to try to treat your wife as property rather than treat her as a queen. And your baby is going to be raised to do the same thing. Exactly. We need to reinstate our culture. That's exactly what we're doing. Exactly. Like, that's perfect, right? We need to gentrify. Don't get mad at somebody else when he gentrifies or she gentrifies. That's what they're supposed to do. I'm bringing my culture wherever I go. That's gentrification. I'm cool with that. The question needs to become, why don't you gentrify? You shouldn't stop being friends with a white person because they gentrify. Like, if a white person comes over my house, I comprehend they're going to try to institute their culture. They want to feel safe. I might even do a couple things that go in white culture. I know we have these terms, whatever these terms mean, right? But I might do some things because I know, like, you coming over here. Just like if somebody's coming from, if somebody's in Ghana, right? You might have this type of jollof rice. If I go to Nigeria, though, you might have this type of jollof rice, right? And if I'm in Nigeria, I bet not say that Ghanaian jollof rice is better than Nigerian jollof rice. We're gonna have a problem, right? And you might think, oh no, that's stupid. It's just for fun. Kind of, sort of, because you talk about somebody's culture. This is how they eat, right? When I go back to Ghana and I put my hand in the bowl and I get ready to eat, then guess what? Like I'm putting my hand in. I don't care if it's soup. I don't care whatever it is. I don't care whatever plant it is. I don't care if it's hot, if it's cold. Like it's designed that your right hand better go in there. Don't put your left hand in there. Don't talk about, can I get a fork? They'll give you one, but they'll look at you kind of wild. You know why? Because I'm in somebody else's culture. So if I were to invite somebody from Ghana and say, come over to my house and we're going to feed you, then I'm probably going to eat with my right hand. I do that a lot anyways. But I also recognize, I've told people this before, if I go out to a restaurant with somebody or whatever, like I'm probably not going to eat with my hand at the restaurant. Why? Because I know in that culture, it'll make y'all look bad. So I won't do that there. But if you catch me and we eating together as family and stuff, and we just chilling somewhere, I will probably eat with my right hand. And you just gonna have to go with that. Because the right hand, it represents, well, it represents blessing, it represents power, it represents authority, and it doesn't mean you can't be left-handed. It just is something that's in a lot of cultures, including Israelite culture. Like when you sat down in Israel and you ate, you would have laid down and you would have ate. That's one of the reasons why you washed your feet. It wasn't just because you wanted to keep the floor from being clean. You would actually sat down on the table on your side and your feet would have been kicked up. So we don't want sand and everything up in the food. So somebody need to wash your feet and then you need to wash your hands at the table and then, right, so that everything's okay. So we have this idea, once again, off of Eurocentric value, right, where the Last Supper supposedly is supposed to be just a straight table with very effeminate looking guys and everybody's supposed to be white, even though if you look back at that, they even used to draw on black before then. But nevertheless, everybody's supposed to be white now, and you're supposed to have this flat table. But you would have had an L-shaped table. Yahshua would have been at the corner of the L shape, right? Judas Iscariot would have been closest to the door. When you know the setting, you can actually know where people are. Judas Iscariot probably would have been closest to the door. Yahshua would have been at the corner. He would have said, the one who dips his hand with the bowl in me is going to be the one that betrays me, which means that Judas Iscariot wouldn't have been all the way off to the edge, like in that painting that's become famous, but he would have actually been sitting next to him, when they dipped their hands in the bowl to wash their hands before they got ready to lay down and eat. And they would have ate with the right hand. Right. And by the way, that's why I know everybody says, oh, yeah, when you eat, you should eat sitting down at the table and stuff. And I like to sit at the table myself. But reality is, like, you actually get pretty good digestion if you're sitting down and eating on your side and eating with the right hand. A lot of people just aren't aware of it, right? But it's part of our culture and it's part of who we are. It's part of the way your body's designed. Right. It's just like when people say that women should give birth laying down, but that's why one of the reasons y'all need the epidurals and stuff the way it is because you put so much pressure on your spine and on your back. So they shoot something in your spine because you got all that pressure on it. And the only reason you do that is because there was some French king that had a fetish and he wanted to see you give birth to a child. So now everybody lays on their back. The reality is you should have been straight up, and the position that we should use the bathroom in, which is, use the bathroom, put your knees up, just like they do in like Japan or in China. If you've ever flown over to those places, or even if not, maybe you've seen somewhere the toilets are laid flat down on the ground, right? Like, but they do that because it's the best way. It opens up, sphincter. It opens up different sphincters even inside of your body. We only think about the one sphincter, that's the anus or whatever. But we have many different holes that need to be able to be given. Your intestines do certain things, and the birth canal will do different things because of the positioning of the body, right? Hey, how you doing, Minister Sonia? So these are but those are things that can be in there just off of what the position. But the position, things become positional because they're cultural. The position that you're in is because of the culture that you're in. You catch that? So you having babies on your back, messing your back up, and your body's not designed to give birth that way. Your body's designed to use the same muscles and stuff that you use, like the same muscles. When you use the bathroom, those muscles get exercised that are going to be there for childbirth. Like, a lot of people don't know that. By the way, sisters, that's why one of the things that they tell you, and I don't think you should have a full meal per se, but one of the things that they tell you to do, they say they don't want you to eat when you're pregnant and stuff and just have the ice chips. It's actually not that great for you to not eat at all. When you're pregnant or when you're going through labor, you should probably have a little something on you, at least if you go into labor before you start, dilating too much. You should probably have some food while you can still stomach it down. Why? Because one of the things that is supposed to happen is that fecal matter, you go number 2, and you're supposed to be in that position, and the fecal matter is actually supposed to touch your baby somewhat. And when it touches your baby, it actually starts their immune system. The body freaks out, and their body freaks out and says, I don't know what's going on, but something touched me and it don't feel right. And your immune system picks up. Baby just starts looking to heal. Right. And then on top of that, then what do we do after that? We cut the umbilical cord. There's somebody's culture. And what do? They eat your afterbirth. There's a cannibal type thing. They save your afterbirth and either eat it or they sell it, they put it in medicines, whatever, but people digest your afterbirth. But you know what? Your baby is supposed to be connected. You're supposed to allow the umbilical cord to fall off. You always are carrying at least 2 babies in your womb, right? You know how they've said before, maybe you've heard that they think that like sometimes babies are supposed to be twins and stuff, and the other twin just doesn't get born for some reason. Every baby is born with as a twin, bare minimum. Why? Because the afterbirth comes out, right? And when it comes out, the afterbirth is connected. And these same two that have had this connection, the afterbirth is going to give its life. It's going to sacrifice itself. The placenta is going to sacrifice and give everything that's in it to the last breath of the placenta. Then the placenta dies off. And when it dies off, the umbilical cord comes off as a sign to let you know that that the placenta sacrificed its life, that your baby would be able to eat everything, because your baby, especially if you're a first time breastfeeder, you know you're dealing with that cholesterol a lot of times before you're dealing with the actual breast milk. Right. And so during the time of by the way, during the time of gestation, you should be making sure that you're having lemons and limes and grapefruits and all types of stuff like that, citrus, to be able to make sure that your baby that you'll be better with your milk. But we don't even do that, right? So then you have a lot of women that have problem with breastfeeding. Make sure that they're getting those certain things like that on a regular basis, right? So then when it comes time, now the milk's ready to flow, but you'll have colostrum at first. Well, guess what? Even if you can't give them full milk yet, the baby's still eating because it's still connected to the placenta. Placenta is going to make sure that baby eats. And that's the only way really the baby has been used to eating anyway. So while you're getting, so see how the Most High sets it up? While the baby is getting used to eating and you're getting used to feeding, the placenta is still there saying, don't worry, I got you. I'm sacrificing, I'm feeding. But what do? They cut off that relationship from the baby with the placenta that it's been having the whole time it's been inside the mother. And they say, you and mom now have this external relationship. We're going to cut off what you had this whole time in your existence with the internal relationship. And we're going to go ahead and give that to somebody else that they might be able to feed off of what was for your baby. It's our version of value is warped. Y'all see that? Our version of value is warped. We're all over the place. And we really are devaluing each other. And by the way, a devil is just somebody who devalues. So you want to know what a devil is? Look for people to devalue others. That being said, though, I'm pushing. Time's up. I gotta get ready. Prayerfully, you got something out of this. It's recorded on YouTube. If you weren't able to catch the whole thing, we'll be back on tomorrow on the Rising at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. And since it's Sunday, we'll go a little longer because of time. However, Saturday, we got coat drive stuff. I've got some family stuff that actually just came up as well. And we got to get ready for Shabbat Shalom service. So I'll go ahead and take my leave for today. Thank you guys so much. We hope to see you on 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. And if you're interested in finding out more about YLP 83 Yazlam Project, we're going to be kicking off the popcorn drive and stuff again soon, so we can start doing some stuff to catch up and try to at least get in the 6-figure range, so we can start looking at making a serious purchase of land. Got a couple things. Really hasn't much changed as far as the places per se, but we got a couple more things that have popped up. Some of you are going to be getting a call before that, so it'll probably be, we won't have a meeting today because of all these things going on, but hopefully we'll have one next week for both, not just YLP 83, but also for SOC. We're working on it. Please give me, there's a whole lot of stuff we have recorded from from our, I'm sorry, y'all. A lot of stuff we have recorded from our convocation. So give me some time. We're trying to get that together. Those who were baptized, even those who were baptized before the convocation, we're trying to figure out how to get you your stuff as well. But we look forward to talking to you guys soon, and keep us in prayer. I'm continuing. I think you guys can probably hear I'm feeling a little better. I apologize about last night. Those that tried to come on last night, I was legit ready to go. I was ready to go 7 to about 8:45 or so. And then signal was done. So I do apologize for not getting to you guys last night. This week has been pressing strain for me. Everything. You got to be careful what you speak. So as you speak something over, you got to deal with it. But thank you all so much. We appreciate it. Please check out my wife, as always, the Honorable Maya, Honorable Amma. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. She was actually on earlier speaking a little bit with us. So the same person who was up then, if you want to look for her. She has many different tinctures, which are natural medicines that she does and provides for the community. Sister Barbara, I'm gonna be sending you an address. Should be sending you an address today, but we won't be there till later on in the week. But at least you'll know, and you'll be able to send it, and we'll be able to catch it when we get over there. Thank you everybody who's been helping with the food and clothes and even smell goods and all that stuff that we use to help those who might need. And we're excited and grateful and thankful to be able to do so. So thank you again for being on. We appreciate you all. Take care of yourselves. Shabbat shalom to everybody. We'll see you on the podcast in about 10 minutes or so. And pray for ministers Sharon and Joseph that they continue to give us a mighty and righteous and grand word that will help us throughout this week. And thank you again. So until tomorrow, or if you have class tonight, if it's Solutions from the Black Perspective or marriage class, until class tonight, we will see you guys very soon. We thank you guys. We honor you all, and we look forward to talking to you very soon. So, as always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And so we have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, Yashalel, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shabbat shalom. Peace.